Did you know that silver actually got banned in 1980? The government passed a law on the spot called Silver Rule 7. And this was because the Hunt brothers during that time were cornering the silver market, owning up to 77% of the global silver supply. Now, this was on the COMEX, but what they did was turn all of these contracts into physical delivery. Now, the government wasn't going to let that happen, so they banned silver, forced everyone to sell it, which was confiscating everyone's silver. You had to sell it back to the government. Now, this is when silver was $50, the highest price silver's ever been still till this day. But when they pushed this law, this pushed the price from $50 back down to $9 within a couple of months. Now, the point of this video is to look at the possibility of this ever happening again. Hey, what's up, Silver Stackers? Thanks so much for being here. This is Silver Slayer. My silver giveaway is right around the corner. I did update the prize pool, just added something extra because you guys have been so amazing lately. I also give an ounce of silver away once a month to one of my subscribers, someone who just stands out to me, leaving very positive comments, just good vibes, and just stands out. I'll reward you for that. Now, Silver Rule 7, what happened? How is this even possible? Well, this is a crazy story, folks. I'm not going to get into the entire situation with the Hunt brothers because that would be probably hour plus long. I did make a docu-series on the entire thing because it's so complex. You have the mainstream media's portrayal of these three brothers, but then you have a deeper, more realistic situation. It would be almost like one of us getting blamed for this, but the government doesn't want everyone to know why we stack silver, so they'll just make it sound like it's more sinister and illegal than why they really were, because they don't want the truth getting out of silver's true value or why these guys were going against the grain of the dollar. So you could see why this was such a crazy situation at the time, especially since mainstream media got hold of it. Very interesting. But we are looking at the whole situation with Silver Rule 7 and how that collapsed the market to destroy the Hunt brothers. Like I said, they owned up to 77% of all the world's silver. How? Because they were billionaires dumping all of their money into this. Now, like I said, we're not going to go into this entire thing, but this article or this little entry from Robert Wagner explains it extremely well. There's other articles you can read on this, but this one breaks it down. Now, let's look at this entire thing. Now, the Hunt brothers were rich kids who had more money than good sense. High inflation in the 1970s convinced them government under Carter was incompetent and the US dollar would soon be worthless. Since Americans were not allowed to own gold at the time, the brothers decided to put their money in silver. A lot of people didn't know that fact. That's why they got into silver, because gold was banned at that time. And by the way, I want you to participate in this video. Since they confiscated people's silver before, since gold confiscation has happened time and time again, probably the most popular is the Executive Order 6102 from FDR in 1930s, where he states that you have to turn in all of your gold, all of it, or you'll pay a $10,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment or both. Had to turn it all in. Now, every time governments do confiscate people's gold, it's in times of economic uncertainty, usually during war. But we know that silver is the most critical element for the new green age as we advance in solar panels and all that. So if there's not enough silver for the world to go green, then wouldn't that be just as much of an incentive to turn people's silver in or tell them to? And they would probably push the angle of help save the planet, turn your silver in. It would be something along those lines. I mean, that would be the most logical play for them if they did want anyone to participate. But anyways, let's keep moving on. So, they were so greedy, they borrowed in order to buy more silver than they had money. And this is where the illegal part got in. If they would have just kept buying silver, nothing they couldn't have been stopped. But that's where they got into some shady stuff. So they were so greedy, they borrowed in order to buy more silver than they had money. The way they bought silver was through futures contracts on which they took the unusual step of electing physical delivery. Imagine these guys owning 77% of the global silver supply in physical form. Just imagine what that would look like. And also imagine why the government didn't want that to happen, because the government still back in 1980 needed silver, right? Silver was still used in everything back then. So imagine the silver shortage in realistic times during that situation. Like, the government had no choice but to ban silver. So they ran the price of silver up from $6 an ounce to $50 an ounce. They owned $5 billion in silver. Depending on which newspaper story you read, owned between 15% and 77% of all the world's silver. Along the way, they pissed everyone off in the futures trading industry and the newly arrived Reagan administration. If they had confined themselves to physical silver, there would not have been no one could have done anything about it. That's what I was talking about. Their vulnerability was borrowed money in the highly leveraged futures market. First, government made a rule that the FDIC insured banks were no longer allowed to lend money for commodity speculation. Second, this is where we get into it. The COMEX stopped trading silver, and CBOT doubled margin requirements. The Hunt brothers got a $100 million marginal call. They did not have it, and banks were not allowed to lend it to them. Their brokers, notably Botch, was required to place involuntary market sell orders to reduce the brothers' position. Then the large quantity of sell orders wiped clean the buy side of the market. There simply was no buyers at any price. In one day, Silver Thursday, and that's another historical moment from this situation, the price fell from $20 to $10. On the following 3 days, it went limit down on the first trade day of each day. The fall stopped at $5, back where it started a few years earlier. So it pushed to $50, the highest price it's ever been, still till this day, back down to $5. Now, the Hunt brothers got caught in a bull trap, causing a loss more than $1 billion. It took 7 years to sell off their physical silver. Now, Silver Rule 7 goes a lot deeper than this. We have a very just crazy situation that the government did, but that's a little bit of what happened. That's the context. They banned silver. Nobody could buy it. Nobody could do anything with it except sell it back to the government. You couldn't trade it to friends or family. You had to sell it back. And plus, when people caught wind of this, everyone panic sold. Imagine silver $50 and you see the price dramatically going down. Your best bet would be sell it at the highest price you can get, even if it's at 40 or 30, because you know it's going to go back down to 5. So everyone sold. And that's exactly what the government wanted. They cut off the brothers from getting loans from the bank, and then they banned silver on the COMEX. Nobody could buy it, literally. So the only possible manipulation was that CBOT board members went short on silver before they raised margin requirements. No one accused them of manipulation. That was the business as usual. Years later, a South American mining company sued the Hunt brothers for cornering the market and won $130 million, causing the brothers to file personal bankruptcy. In less than 10 years, they had run a $7 billion inheritance down to less than $1 billion. They were reduced to breeding racehorses for a living. Fortunately, Daddy H.L. Hunt had the foresight to give them each a protected $100 million trust fund in case something like this happened. Wow. What a crazy story. Man, that's just, and the craziest part is it is much, much deeper than this. This is just the surface area. This is just one guy explaining on Quora, just to give a little bit of insight what happened. But when you look at, or when you watch my 2 or 3 part docuseries on this, man, this thing got deep. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating when I say they banned silver, I'm not. This is another article from Insider explaining more of Silver Rule 7. On January 21st, the COMEX announced its coup de grace, saying trading would be limited to liquidation orders only. No, I'm not kidding. The exchange changed the rules so that no one was allowed to open any new positions from that point on. You could only liquidate open positions. The next day, silver fell off a cliff and plunged from $44 to $33, and then it just kept falling, right? And he even says, to cut a long story short, price kept falling and the hunts couldn't cover their margins on the future, so they had bought. So, this was a real situation, guys. They actually banned silver on the COMEX. They completely banned it. You couldn't buy it. You had to sell it. You had to. And you would be silly to just keep that contract in there while the price is plummeting. I mean, think of that situation. Like, imagine if that happened nowadays. So I passed the question off to you. Do you think that this could happen again, and why? In my opinion, if this happened, it would be because they need more silver for the green revolution as they try to hit this goal of zero net emissions by the year 2040, and why we need so much more silver than we have. And I think they would play the angle of, turn your silver in so we could protect the earth, global warming, climate change. That would be the only reason I could see anyone turning their silver in. But there's also other options: mining innovation, recycling or space mining, which, yes, that is a real thing. I've covered a couple articles on NASA scientists sending out a rover this year to a meteor called 16 Psyche that has $500 quintillion worth of precious metals on it, miles long, headed towards Earth around the year 2026. They're going to try to mine it. No, that won't happen, but we are in that direction. So decades down the line, it's definitely possible. But a lot of times when I say confiscation, people think the government's just going to kick down your doors and go steal your safe. It's not that case. They will buy it off you, usually at a fixed price, just like FDR. When that happened, they bought it from a fixed price. I don't know how that would work nowadays, but I could see something like that happening. I mean, remember, the Hunt brothers got into silver because gold was already banned at that time. Gold's been banned time and time again. I could see this happening. I'm not trying to say it will, but I'm just trying to open up a conversation because, as we know, the silver shortage is going to get much more serious. We all talk about $100 silver. Yeah, but then what? What's the aftermath? The reason $100 silver is going to be here is because we will be running out of silver when we need all these EVs and solar panels. I actually just made a video showing how much silver is left in all the world's reserves, and then applied that to the annual demand and showed in how many years those reserves will be empty. And that was actually my latest video. I highly recommend you go check that out, and go check out the docu-series I made on the Hunt brothers. And yeah, so I'm going to wrap this video up here. The link to these two articles will be in the description. Let me know what you think about it. Make sure you go enter my silver giveaway. May the luckiest stacker win. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.